Single dad CEO accidentally calls the wrong emergency babysitter. The woman who arrives is the one he's been waiting for. The boardroom lights flickered slightly as the storm outside rolled over the skyline. Aidan Walker stood at the head of a long glass table, sleeves rolled up, voice clipped as he pointed toward the projection screen. He was in the middle of finalizing a major acquisition deal, one that had taken months of negotiation. Suddenly, his phone buzzed on the table. It was the nanny's number. He frowned, excused himself with a brief nod, and stepped out into the hallway. "What is it, Marlene?" A panicked voice came through the speaker. "Mr. Walker, I am so sorry. I cannot get to Mia tonight. My car broke down and there is no way I can make it into the city." Aidan pinched the bridge of his nose. "You are telling me this now? My daughter is sick and I have another hour left in this meeting." "I called your assistant already. She said she would arrange a replacement." He ended the call, took a deep breath, and walked back into the meeting. He gave instructions to his VP, then checked his messages. A single text from his assistant blinked on his screen. "Found emergency sitter, Lucy's sister, on her way now." He pocketed the phone and left the office, stepping into the elevator with the calm of someone who lived in perpetual crisis control. He arrived at his penthouse 20 minutes later, loosened his tie and walked into the soft glow of the apartment. Mia was curled up on the couch under a blanket, cheeks flushed with fever, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. She looked up at him sleepily. "Daddy?" He knelt down beside her, brushing hair from her forehead. "I am here, sweetheart. You will feel better soon." The doorbell rang. He straightened up and walked to the door, expecting the usual uniformed professionalism of one of Lucy's colleagues. Instead, a woman stood there, drenched from the rain, hair pulled into a messy bun, holding a small tote bag and wearing a navy blue cardigan that looked more suited to a classroom than an emergency nanny call. She looked up at him, blinking water from her lashes. "Hi, I am Lily Harper. I got a message saying someone needed an emergency babysitter." Aidan frowned. "You are Lucy's sister?" She tilted her head. "Lucy? No, I think—" This may have been a mistake. There was a long pause. Then Mia coughed behind him, a weak sound that sent a twist through his chest. He opened the door wider. "Mistake or not, I need help right now. Can you stay? Just for tonight?" Lily hesitated, then nodded. "Of course." Within minutes, she had her coat hung up, shoes off, and was kneeling beside Mia on the couch, her voice soft and rhythmic as she spoke to the little girl. She checked her temperature with a gentle touch, helped her sip water, and whispered stories while rubbing her back. Aidan stood in the hallway, stunned. By the time he returned from retrieving fever medication, Mia had fallen asleep, curled against Lily's side. He handed over the medicine, quietly. "You seem to know what you are doing." Lily smiled without looking up. "I used to be a preschool teacher. I am taking a break." Aidan did not ask why. He only watched as Lily gently shifted Mia onto a pillow and pulled the blanket up to her chin. Later, in the kitchen, Lily brewed tea she found in the cabinet, while Aidan sat at the counter, still trying to figure out how this stranger had managed to calm his daughter faster than anyone else ever had. "I am sorry again," Lily said. "I really thought the message was from a family I used to babysit for years ago. I just showed up." He shook his head. "You showed up when it mattered." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Lily glanced toward the hallway where Mia was sleeping. "She is a wonderful little girl. You must be doing something right." Aidan let out a breath that sounded a lot like relief. "I try. Some days I feel like I am just surviving." "You are not alone in that." He looked at her more closely, noticing the tired edge to her kind eyes. "You seem good at this. Are you sure you are not still a teacher?" She smiled faintly. "It is complicated." He did not press. But something about her, her presence, her steadiness, unsettled the part of him that had learned to function without needing anyone. As the rain continued tapping against the windows, Aidan Walker, CEO of Walker & Co., realized that perhaps, for the first time in years, someone had stepped into his world and made it feel a little less empty. The apartment was quiet, the soft hum of the city far below, muffled by double-paned glass. Lily stood in the softly lit hallway, watching Mia sleep peacefully on the oversized couch, her tiny body curled like a comma beneath the thick-knit blanket. The fever had gone down slightly. Her cheeks, though still pink, were no longer burning. Aiden appeared beside Lily with 2 mugs of tea. "She's out for the night, I think," Lily whispered. He handed her a cup. "Thanks to you." She accepted it, warming her hands. She just needed someone to listen, and probably a little ginger tea. Aiden gave a quiet chuckle, rare and brief. "I should hire you on the spot." Lily raised an eyebrow. "That would be quite the job offer, considering I showed up here by mistake." "You showed up when no one else did," he said simply. They sat on opposite ends of the wide leather sofa in the living room. Between them the city lights stretched endlessly, glittering and untouchable. Aiden leaned back, rolling his shoulders. Lily sipped her tea, her eyes moving from the skyline to the photo frames on the console table, one of Aiden with a younger Mia, another of a woman with bright eyes and a gentle smile. "She was beautiful," Lily said softly. Aiden followed her gaze. His voice lowered. "She was everything." A long silence followed. "I'm sorry," Lily said. "She passed away 2 years ago," he replied, not looking at the photo. "Cancer. It was fast. Too fast." Lily didn't say anything. She just nodded, letting the weight of the moment settle naturally. Aiden studied the tea in his hands. "Since then, it's just been me and Mia. Nannies come and go, schedules change. Life doesn't pause because you're trying to breathe again." Lily listened, really listened, not as someone curious, but as someone who understood the ache behind every word. "Do you get help, family?" she asked. "Not really. My parents live across the country. Her parents—" He trailed off. "It's complicated." They both glanced at Mia, who let out a tiny sigh in her sleep. "Shoe's strong," Lily murmured. Aiden nodded. "Stronger than me some days," Lily smiled, then hesitated before saying, "You're doing a good job." He looked at her, surprised. "You've known me less than 3 hours. 3 hours is long enough to see the way you looked at her when she cried, long enough to see the world stops when she needs you." Aiden's jaw flexed, emotion flickering behind his steady eyes. There was something in Lily's presence, a quiet steadiness that made it feel like it was okay to speak without fixing everything. "So," he said, shifting the subject gently, "why isn't someone like you in a classroom full of kids?" Lily hesitated. "I had a student," she began slowly, fingers tightening around her mug. "He got hurt. It was an accident, but I couldn't stop blaming myself, even when no one else did. I took time off, then more time, and I never went back." Aiden didn't interrupt. He just nodded slowly. "I think," Lily said after a long pause, "I forgot how to be around children without being afraid." He tilted his head slightly. "You didn't seem afraid tonight." She smiled faintly. Mia made it easy. They both fell quiet again, not uncomfortably, but in that strange space where 2 strangers start to feel a little less strange. Eventually Aiden stood. "You can take the guest room. It's down the hall. Mia sleeps better when someone's nearby, and I trust you." Lily blinked. "You sure?" He gave her a tired but sincere nod. "I haven't been sure about many things lately, but this feels right." She followed him to the hallway, pausing once more to glance at the sleeping girl on the couch. Aiden looked at her. "Thank you, Lily, for tonight." She smiled. "Thank you for letting me stay." As the door to the guest room clicked shut behind her, Aiden stood alone for a moment, staring at the space she had just filled. Something unfamiliar tugged at him, like the beginning of a question he didn't yet have the courage to ask, but somewhere down the hallway, a stranger was already making his world feel less like a burden and more like home. The next morning arrived quietly, with sunlight peeking through half-closed curtains. Aiden was already dressed in a fresh suit, pacing the kitchen with his phone pressed to his ear while pouring cereal into a bowl. Mia sat at the counter in her pajamas, swinging her feet and playing absently with her spoon. Across from her, Lily appeared in the doorway, dressed in her own clothes, simple jeans, a soft gray sweater, and her hair loosely tied back. "Good morning," she said gently. Mia's face lit up. "Miss Lily?" Aiden turned, surprised at the burst of excitement from his normally reserved daughter. "I guess someone's happy to see you." Lily smiled and walked over. "How's the fever?" "Gone," Mia said proudly. "I feel like pancakes." Aiden raised an eyebrow. "You barely ate toast last night." "I changed my mind," Lily chuckled. "Mind if I make her something? I'm kind of a pancake wizard." Aiden hesitated, then stepped aside. "Be my guest." Within minutes, the kitchen filled with the scent of vanilla and cinnamon. Mia giggled as Lily flipped the pancakes with flair, adding blueberries into the shapes of stars. "I didn't know we had blueberries," Aiden muttered. "I found them behind a wall of protein bars," Lily replied, tossing him a playful glance. He sat at the counter and watched as Mia devoured the breakfast. He had not seen his daughter this animated in weeks, not even with family, certainly not with hired nannies. After clearing the dishes, Lily turned to Aiden. "If you need help again today, I'm free." "You don't have other plans?" she shrugged. "Not anymore." Aiden studied her for a moment. The offer wasn't professional, it was personal somehow. She was choosing this, choosing them. "I'd appreciate that," he said. What started as one more day turned into 3, then a week. Lily became a part of their daily rhythm. She walked Mia to the park, taught her how to fold paper swans, and helped her practice her letters with glitter pens and way too many stickers. Aiden came home each night to laughter echoing down the hall, and stories he hadn't heard before. Stories Mia hadn't been willing to share with anyone. On a warm Saturday afternoon, Aiden invited Lily to join them at the farmer's market. They wandered through booths of fresh flowers and homemade jams, Mia holding Lily's hand as they admired a small puppet show. They bought lemonade and shared a giant cinnamon roll, which Mia insisted on feeding them in alternating bites. It felt, dangerously, like a real family. Later at the park, they spread a blanket under a tree. Lily leaned against the trunk, reading a storybook aloud, while Mia curled up beside her. Aiden watched them from the picnic basket, his heart twisting with something both beautiful and terrifying. As the sun began to set, Mia lay her head on Lily's lap and whispered something. Lily looked down, startled. "What did you say, sweetheart?" Mia repeated, a little louder this time. "Can you be my new mommy?" The words hung in the air like a delicate thread. Lily's eyes filled, her hand brushing Mia's hair. She glanced at Aiden, who had frozen completely. He didn't speak. Couldn't. Lily smiled softly and said, "That's a very big question, Mia. Let's keep having fun together, okay?" Mia nodded, content, and soon fell asleep right there in her lap. Aiden finally exhaled, walking over quietly. He sat beside them, not saying anything, just watching the two people who had quietly and completely upended his world. "She's never said anything like that to anyone before," he said finally. "I didn't know what to say," Lily admitted. "You said exactly the right thing." They sat in silence, the kind that no longer felt like strangers passing time. Instead, it felt like the beginning of something they were both afraid to name. But something had shifted, and they both knew this was no longer temporary. The following week passed in a blur of familiar routines. Breakfasts filled with laughter, afternoons at the library, evenings curled up with storybooks. On the outside, everything looked like a picture of happiness. But something had changed inside Aiden, and Lily could feel it. He was quieter now, more reserved. He still smiled when Mia clung to Lily's hand or proudly showed off a drawing they had made together, but there was a certain distance in his gaze, something she could not quite reach. One evening, as Mia napped after a busy afternoon at the aquarium, Aiden walked into the living room where Lily sat, sorting colored pencils, with soft music playing in the background. He cleared his throat. "Dinner's almost ready. You're welcome to stay if you want." She looked up and smiled. "I'd like that." But something in his tone made her hesitate. Later, as they sat at the table, Mia asleep in her room, the air between them felt heavier than usual. Lily gently pushed her half-empty plate aside and asked, "Is everything okay, Aiden?" He didn't answer right away. He poured himself a glass of water, stared at it, then said, "This, whatever it is we've built, it's starting to feel like more than I expected." Lily's heart skipped. "And that's a problem?" she asked quietly. He shook his head. "No, but it's complicated. She nodded slowly, her fingers lacing together on the table. "You're afraid." "I'm terrified," he said honestly, "of letting you in, of Mia getting attached, of losing everything again." Her eyes softened. "Aiden, I never wanted to come into your life and replace someone." "You didn't," he said quickly, "but that doesn't mean I know how to do this. I lost someone and I've spent the last 2 years making sure Mia never felt that kind of loss again." "You're trying to protect her," Lily said gently, "and maybe protecting her means not letting anyone get close." Lily's throat tightened. "Including me." He didn't answer. The silence was its own kind of confirmation. Lily stood slowly, gathering her bag. "I think I should go." "Lily," he began, but she gave him a small, sad smile. "You don't have to explain. I understand. You're not ready." She walked toward the front door, paused, then turned back one last time. "I wasn't looking for a family when I showed up at your door that night, but somehow you became one. And I don't know how to walk away from that without it hurting." She left before he could reply. The apartment felt colder after she was gone. The next morning, Mia woke to find Lily's shoes missing from the hallway. She looked around in confusion, then found a small folded note on the table in the playroom. Her tiny fingers opened it slowly. "You are brave and kind, and I will always care about you. Love, Miss Lily." Mia clutched the note to her chest and began to cry. When Aiden came running in, she looked up with wide, tear-filled eyes. "Did Miss Lily leave because of me?" Aiden knelt beside her, wrapping her in his arms. "No, sweetheart. She left because of me." And for the first time in a long time, he realized something painful and clear. He had built walls so high around his heart that even love could not find its way in. And now, he had pushed away the one person who had made him believe it was okay to feel again. Days passed, then a week. The apartment was quieter. Too quiet. Mia stopped asking for Lily after the third night, but she carried the little note around like a talisman, clutching it in her small hands when she thought no one was watching. Aiden watched her, guilt eating away at him like rust. He still woke early, packed her lunch, dropped her off at preschool, and returned to his meetings like nothing had changed, but everything had. One afternoon, after a particularly lifeless meeting, Aiden sat at his desk, staring at a coffee cup Lily had once left on the shelf, a simple ceramic one with tiny sunflowers. She had said it reminded her of something warm, something she missed. His chest tightened. "I made a mistake," he muttered under his breath. Without thinking, he pulled out his phone and scrolled through contact after contact until he reached a familiar number. Not Lily's, she had never given it, but the sitter's service he thought he had called weeks ago. This time he asked directly, "Do you know where Lily Harper is?" There was a pause on the other end. Then a hesitant voice said, "She volunteers at Maple and Bloom Books downtown, part-time. She works with kids there sometimes." That evening, Aiden stood outside the small bookstore tucked between a bakery and a flower shop, heart thudding. Through the front window he saw her. Lily sat in the reading circle, cross-legged on a rug, surrounded by a small group of children. Her eyes sparkled as she read from a brightly illustrated book, her voice animated and full of life. She laughed, gesturing wildly, and the kids roared with giggles. Aiden couldn't move. She looked so herself. Alive in a way she hadn't been when she'd left. When the reading session ended, she rose to her feet, hugging a little girl goodbye before collecting the scattered books. As she turned toward the front of the store, her eyes met his through the glass. She froze. Aiden stepped inside slowly, hands in his coat pockets. "Hi," he said softly. Lily looked unsure, guarded. "Hi. I didn't come here to ask you to come back," he said. "I just needed to say thank you." She tilted her head. "For what?" "For giving Mia something I couldn't. For giving me something I didn't know I needed." Lily lowered her gaze. "You made it clear you weren't ready." "I wasn't," he admitted. "But losing you made me realize I might never be ready if I keep living in fear." She crossed her arms, but her expression softened. "Fear is real, Aiden, but so is love." He took a step closer, pulling something from his pocket. It was a bracelet, bright plastic beads strung unevenly with the letters MIA in the center. "She made this for you the night you left," he said. "She hid it under her pillow. I found it this morning." Lily's fingers trembled as she reached out and took it. "She misses you," he said. "We both do." "I miss her too," Lily whispered. Then, after a long pause, "And I miss you." Aiden's eyes glistened. "Lily, I don't want to pretend I have everything figured out. But I know this. When you left, everything felt empty." He exhaled slowly, voice cracking, just enough to betray the man behind the CEO. "I want to try. With you. With Mia. As a family. No walls. No hiding." She looked up, hope flickering like dawn behind her eyes. "I can't promise I won't be scared," she said. "I don't want perfect," he replied. "I just want real." She smiled then, soft and steady, and stepped into his arms. As he held her tightly, the bracelet pressed between their palms, Aiden knew he had just been given a second chance. And this time, he wasn't going to let go. Lily did not move back in, not right away. But she started showing up again, quietly, like a melody slowly returning to a forgotten song. She came over in the mornings before preschool, helped Mia pick out her socks, always mismatched on purpose, and packed little handwritten notes inside her lunchbox. Sometimes they said things like, "Be brave today," or "Remember, sunshine starts with you." Mia adored them, and Aiden did too, even if he never said it out loud. Their rhythm resumed, not rushed but steady. Pancake Saturdays returned, with flour on noses and giggles echoing through the kitchen. Movie nights resumed, with Lily curled on one side of the couch, Mia in the middle and Aiden on the other, their fingers brushing over shared popcorn. The apartment, once echoing with silence, now felt lived in again. It smelled of cinnamon and warmth, crayons and laughter. One evening, after Mia had fallen asleep mid-sentence during a bedtime story, Aiden walked out to find Lily sitting on the couch, flipping through a stack of the child's drawings. "She made these today," Lily said, holding up one. "Apparently I'm a superhero babysitter teacher lady." Aiden chuckled and sat beside her, looking at the picture. A stick figure version of Lily wore a bright pink cape, with Mia and Aiden on either side. "She's not wrong," he said, his voice soft. Lily studied the picture for a long moment, then placed it on the table. "I've been thinking about going back to teaching." Aiden looked at her with genuine surprise. "You're ready?" "I'm scared," she admitted. "But yeah, I think I am." He reached out and took her hand, his thumb tracing small circles over her knuckles. "I think the classroom's been missing you as much as we did." She smiled, a real one, and leaned into his shoulder. "The day you showed up at the bookstore, I remembered who I used to be, or maybe who I still am." "You're so much more," he whispered. They sat like that for a while, the silence between them full, not empty. Later that week, Aiden invited Lily somewhere unexpected. She hesitated when he mentioned the cemetery, but she said yes without pressing for details. They walked through the quiet tree-lined grounds until he stopped at a modest headstone. Emily Walker, beloved wife, cherished mother. Lily stood beside him, feeling the weight of memory in the air. "She was kind," Aiden said. "Brilliant. She made this place feel like a home. Losing her, it felt like the world just shifted off its axis." He took a breath, the cool air visible between his words. "For a long time, I thought loving again would be betrayal, that if I moved forward, I'd be letting her go." Lily looked up at him, eyes gentle. "But you showed me that hearts aren't graves. They can hold more than one love. They can grow. They can remember, and still welcome something new." She reached for his hand. "I'll never try to replace her," Lily said softly. "I don't want you to," he replied. "I want you to be exactly who you are." They knelt and placed a single sunflower beside the headstone, Lily's idea. "She would have liked you," Aiden murmured. "I hope so," Lily whispered. On the walk back to the car, their fingers intertwined naturally. It was not grand, not dramatic, but it was real. It was two people choosing to begin again, not from scratch, but from the broken places they had gently mended. Together, and in that choice, love was not reborn. It simply came home. Spring arrived with soft mornings and golden afternoons, and with it came something that felt very close to peace. Lily had officially accepted a part-time teaching position at a local preschool, just a few blocks from Aiden's apartment. She now walked Mia to school with her, their steps in rhythm, their laughter echoing through quiet streets. Some days Aiden would meet them on the way back, coffee in hand, pretending he had no ulterior motive beyond caffeine, though the way his eyes lingered on Lily said otherwise. One Thursday afternoon, Mia came home holding a golden certificate clutched tightly in her small hand. "Look," she beamed, "I was Student of the Month." Aiden lifted her in the air, spinning her in a slow circle. "That's amazing, sweetheart," Lily stood by, clapping enthusiastically. "You've been so kind to your friends and such a great listener. Of course they picked you." Mia's eyes sparkled. "We're having a ceremony. Will you both come?" "Wouldn't miss it for the world," Aiden said. The day of the ceremony, Mia stood on stage with her classmates in front of a small gathering of parents and teachers. She spotted Aiden and Lily sitting side by side in the front row, and she grinned so wide her cheeks puffed up. After the applause, she ran straight to them, throwing her arms around both. "I'm so glad you're both here," she whispered. Later that night, after dinner and cupcakes and a living room dance party, Aiden tucked Mia into bed. She clutched her stuffed bunny and whispered, "I hope Miss Lily stays forever." He kissed her forehead, the weight of her words pressing gently on his chest. "Me too, baby girl." When he returned to the living room, Lily was folding laundry, humming softly to herself. He watched her for a long moment before stepping forward. "You've become part of everything here," he said. She glanced up, cheeks pink. "I hope that's okay," he smiled. "It's more than okay." He hesitated, then added, "Will you have dinner with us this Friday? Just us, no toys, no TV, just a real dinner." Lily blinked. "Are you asking me on a date, Mr. Walker?" He smirked. "I believe I am." She grinned. "Then I'd love to." Friday night came, and Aiden had gone above and beyond. He wore a navy button-down, set the table with candles, and even tried to cook, though Lily gently saved the meal from total disaster. Mia sat in her special booster seat, declaring the pasta fancy, and insisted on giving a toast with her cup of apple juice. "To us," she said proudly. "Our family." Aiden and Lily exchanged a glance over flickering candlelight, emotion rising between them. After Mia went to bed, Lily stepped out onto the balcony, drawn by the cool air and the city lights. Aiden followed. "She's happy," Lily said. "She's happy because of you," Aiden replied. Lily shook her head. "Because of us." Aiden turned to her. "You've changed everything, Lily. You brought color back into our world." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Lily froze. "I'm not asking for forever tonight," Aiden said quickly, opening it to reveal a simple, elegant gold ring set with a single diamond. "I'm asking you to say yes to now, to waking up here, to pancakes, to books on the floor, to all of it, with me." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Yes," she whispered, "1,000 times yes." From the hallway, a sleepy voice called, "Did someone say pancakes?" They both laughed, and Aiden turned to Lily, placing the ring on her finger with a look so full of quiet love it could have made the stars weep. And in that moment, there were no missing pieces, no ghosts, no what-ifs, just them, together, and more than enough. 1 year later, sunlight poured through the trees of a quiet garden behind a brick townhouse in Brooklyn. White chairs lined a narrow cobblestone path, petals scattered underfoot, laughter bubbling gently in the air. The backyard wedding was small, intimate, just a few close friends, some colleagues, and Mia, who had declared herself flower girl, ring bearer, and boss of everything. Lily stood at the end of the path in a soft ivory dress, simple and timeless. Her eyes sparkled as she met Aiden's, standing beneath a canopy of white blossoms, Mia clinging to one hand, a bouquet in the other. When Lily reached them, Aiden took both of her hands in his. "You walked into my life by accident," he said, voice warm. "But loving you has been the most intentional thing I've ever done." Lily's voice trembled as she replied, I didn't know I could find home in someone else's arms. But you and Mia, you're the home I never dared to dream about." The officiant smiled and declared, "By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." Before he could say anything else, Mia shouted, "You can kiss her." Everyone laughed, and Aiden did. Their kiss was soft and certain, and Mia threw handfuls of petals into the air like confetti. The reception that followed was just as simple: folding chairs, fairy lights, mason jars with lemonade, and a chocolate cake Mia helped decorate unevenly. There were no press releases, no grand ballroom, no spotlight. Just love. 1 year later, the front window of a charming corner shop now read, "The Sunflower Library, Children's Books and Community Classes." Inside, Lily stood behind a table, guiding a small group of kids through a craft session. Crayons rolled across the table. Storybooks lined every wall. And in the back room, Aiden was reading to a circle of toddlers who hung on every word of the very hungry caterpillar. At his feet sat a little boy with dark curls and wide eyes. Theo, not quite 2, with Lily's nose and Aiden's curiosity. Mia sat nearby, now a confident 6-year-old, reading aloud to Theo when his brother finished. "You're going to be a big reader like me," she told him matter-of-factly. One Saturday afternoon, a sleek black car pulled up in front of the store. Out stepped Charles and Margaret Walker, Aiden's parents. They had stayed distant during his early struggles, but time had softened them. Inside, Mia ran to the door. "Grandma! Grandpa! Want to meet Theo again?" They entered, tentative but smiling, and Lily handed Theo over carefully. Aiden's father held the boy awkwardly, unsure, but Theo reached for his tie and giggled. Something in the old man's face cracked. He looked down at his grandson, then up at Aiden. "You've built something good here," he said. Aiden simply nodded. "I had help." Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the brownstones, Aiden sat on the back steps of the shop, Lily leaning against his shoulder, Theo asleep in her arms. "You remember the night we met?" she asked. "You mean the emergency babysitter mix-up?" he teased. She nudged him. "That was chaos. Best chaos of my life." They sat in silence, watching fireflies blink in the garden. "I used to think family had to look a certain way," Lily murmured. "But now I know it's just love. That's all it's ever been." Aiden kissed the top of her head. "And this is the kind I never thought I deserved." Theo stirred, and Lily hummed softly to settle him again. Inside, Mia arranged books on a shelf labeled Staff Picks by Mia Walker. One of the titles was How Families Are Made. Not by blood, but by showing up, by staying, by loving, even when it's hard. And under a painted sign that read, "You Belong Here," the Walker family, messy, loud, imperfect, had found everything they had ever needed: each other. Thank you for joining us on this heartfelt journey. Aiden, Lily, Mia, and little Theo reminded us that family is not always about perfect beginnings, but about the people who choose to stay, to love, and to build something real out of unexpected moments. Sometimes, a wrong number leads to the right person, and sometimes love finds us when we least expect it, but exactly when we need it most. If this story moved you, made you smile, or stirred something deep in your heart, we invite you to subscribe to Soul-Stirring Stories. Every week, we bring you new tales of love, healing, resilience, and the quiet magic of human connection. Hit that subscribe button and let us keep touching your soul, one story at a time.